Last week at a cabinet meeting in Abuja, Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan ordered an overhaul of the sports sector after the country's failure to win a medal at the Olympics. President Jonathan believes that what this nation needs at the moment is to take a sober look at what happened and indeed change the scenario to return to the sporting sector to its past glory. Information Minister Labran Maku added. He also called for a new direction in the sports management. Nigeria's performance at London 2012 was the worst in at least 20 years. Joining us on Skype is Mr. Julius Ogunro, aide to the Minister of Sports, Honorable Bolaji Abdullahi, to help us get more insight into the situation of Nigeria and their disappointing performance at the London 2012 Olympics. Mr. Julius, welcome to SaharaTV.
Thank you very much.
If I may ask you, what do you think contributed to the fall of Nigeria at the Olympics?
Thank you very much. I think there are a number of factors that contributed to our dismal performance. But let me say this first. This should not be construed as we are trying to pass the buck or shift the blame. You know, we didn't do as well as we used to, and a number of factors contributed to it. One of them is funding. You know, funding is key in sports. If you take a look at the medals table, the top 10, it almost reflects the economic development of the nations at the top. We had USA, we had China, we had Great Britain, we had Russia, I think we had Germany, we had France. Sports is very, very big business. In Nigeria, we don't have as much funds as those countries. Do you understand that? We don't have as much as those countries. Then secondly, we don't get the funds as at when due. You don't just start preparing for the Olympic or get the funds to prepare for the Olympic in the Olympic year. There is something called an Olympic cycle. It's usually 8 years. Sometimes it's even a lifetime thing. You know, athletes start preparing since when they were born, maybe 4 years with cycling or swimming. But for, let's say, for training for an Olympics, you need at least 4 years to prepare. As the last Olympic ended, you should start preparing the next day after. But in Nigeria, it's not so. It's a systemic failure. It's not blaming the parliament or blaming the executive. It's a systemic failure. It's the way we normally do things. We like to do things really quickly. So funding is key. We don't get all the funds for the Olympic. I think about 2 or 3 months to the Olympic. It was almost impossible to get it appropriate, to get the right things done at that time. But so even then, we still did what.
But let me ask you, in the case of Nigeria, how come they did not prepare on time? Because we all knew that the London 2012 was coming. And how come in the case of Nigeria, as you have said, we have the countries,
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good. As I was saying, we got the funds to use. You asked why didn't we prepare before? You know, I wouldn't be able to speak for the ministry, the commission, before we got it, but we got in 2 months or thereabout before. So as a substantive, you know, my boss was made a substantive minister for sports and chairman of the National Sports Commission. 2 months, about 2 months to the games. So before then, he started quickly to get things, but we got the funds about that same time. So we started an intensive program. It was short, but an intensive program. We sent our boxers to Bradford in the UK, our wrestlers went to Germany, the athletes went to Atlanta, the Paralympic went to Korea. We did all we could within the time we had. So we did all we could, but we couldn't compete as well as those who had started before.
But isn't it expecting too much from your athletes, given the time limit that you had before?
Is it expecting too much from
the athletes? Yes, from the people who participated.
You could say yes and no. You know that in athletics and sports, there is also personal effort. You know, you invest your personal effort and time. Do you understand? Apart from the support you get from government, from your federation, you could also invest your time, and why we have the dismal outcome. I just told you about funding. We also had issues about this preparation. You know, you could almost project the people who win medal. Like, you know, Usain Bolt, you know what he did in Beijing. You could always say Usain will come and do similar thing. So we didn't have all those. We didn't come with all those knowledge. Then thirdly, Olympic is a lifetime commitment. It's also a cultural thing. Nigerians who see sports, we have a competition mindset. We come into the competition. Oh, there is a game we want to participate, but it's not like personal to us. For instance, Children in the UK, as early as 4, they start riding bikes. As early as 5, they go to the swimming pool to swim. It's not about competition. It's not about Olympic. It's self-development in that sport, in that discipline of the sport. In Nigeria, so it is when we have competition, we start looking for people who could participate in those competitions, and it doesn't really help us. So we have to start having a development mindset towards sports. You are
Okay,
not doing it.
Mr. Ogunro,
Okay.
I will ask you, during the past years, as people were growing up in Nigeria, they used to have the high school games and they used to have the primary school games where people started competing at an early age. Is there a way that you can go back to this? Is there a way that you can tap talent from the primary school to the high school to be able to prepare for the Olympics?
Fantastic. Yes, yes, very fantastic. We have also, one of the things we need to do is to increase our partnership, our collaboration with other sectors. What we have now is that the school games are controlled by the Ministry of Education. So the Sport Commission doesn't have any role to play part until when they leave school. But because of this fiasco at the Olympic, there's high-level talks on kind of collaboration, synergy between the Sports Commission and the Ministry of Education, so that we will have a lot of these games. Apart from that, we want to develop a year-long calendar of activities, whether it be primary school, whether it be secondary school, whether it is extra, whether it's out of school competition. We want to have.
All right, we seem to be having a technical problem. I think we'll take a short break and then we will be back very soon. All right, so I'm asking you that the Olympics have already passed. We are looking back at London Olympics 2012, and now we are looking into Rio 2016. So since the Olympic team came back, is there anything that you have done to even communicate with them to get to know what is the major problem that they are facing in order to avoid the same case in 2016?
My sister, I'll be lying if we said we didn't know the challenges we have in our sports, and well, of course, we've been communicating with the athletes, with the federation presidents. We've been meeting at different levels of meeting, but the problems are obvious. As I told you about funding, about lack of proper preparations, and and all that. So it's not something it's not new. It's not something that's new. We've always been winning by chance. Really, most times we don't have a template for success. We just go to games and we win 1 or 2 medals and everybody's happy, and that's the end of it. But in this case, since we didn't win, so it's galvanizing us to really think deep and to see ways to sort it out. So it will not be like before. In 1996, Atlanta 1996, we won 2 gold medals and I think a couple of bronze and maybe a silver or so. But there was no template for that success. It was just by chance. If we had built on that success, we would have maybe in the next Olympic won.
So I'm saying this, we had some athletes who are from USA, they're from UK, but they had some descent in them, which is Nigerian, but some of them won. So it's not a matter that Nigerians cannot win, it's a matter of the preparation, and that's why I think we will hold you to task with all those things that you've told us that you're going to do. But well, you invested 2.5 billion naira. Can you tell us how it was used up in preparation? Mr. Ogunro. I guess we lost him again, but we will keep trying and we can continue. Welcome back to Sahara TV. We want to apologize for the technical difficulties we are having with the internet streaming, but we are back with Mr. Julius Ogunro. He is an aide to the Minister of Sports, and we are speaking to him about the performance of Nigeria in the London 2012 Olympics, where they really flopped, and we are trying to get an insight into really what happened. So, Mr. Ogunro.
Yep.
As we pick up from where we are from, you invested 2.5 billion naira, Nigeria as a country, into the Olympics. Isn't that a lot of money for even the short time that you said and for them to have not performed?
No, we didn't invest 2.5 billion naira.
How much was it?
It was 2.2 billion naira.
All right.
Okay, of course, it's quite a lot of money, but I told you earlier, if we had had much more money earlier than that, we would have invest it much more appropriately. But it's not just for the Olympics alone, it's also for the Olympics and for the Paralympics. As I told you, during the short time we got the funds. We quickly did the best we could. We sent our athletes to Atlanta for for training. That's the sprinters. We send the wrestlers to Germany. We send the boxers to Bradford. The Paralympics went to Korea. In fact, as I speak to you, the the Paralympics athletes are in South Korea. So we did the best we could. Then you also talk about giving allowances and bonus to athletes, officials, transport, and all that. So the funds were efficiently and well utilized. But if you got fund, even if we got $1 billion a day Olympic, I'm sorry, we are not going to achieve much because you can't compete or do well as people who had funds 4 years before or 5 years before.
I agree with you, Mr. Julius, because as much as you invested a lot of money, whether they were prepared or especially because they were not prepared for such a long time, it still didn't make a difference.
Yes,
Now,
and it's not much. 2.2 billion naira is quite a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
As much. Can I just make this point? It's not even as much as what those top nations, those at the top of the medal table did. Britain invests 100 million pounds yearly on its athletes. I think in the last 15 years they've invested about 800 million pounds. We don't come anywhere near that.
Mr. Ogunro, I'm going to ask you, leave the big countries. Let's look at Africa. We're looking at Kenyans who had their athletes well prepared and they were able to take medals home. And I don't think they invested as much money as this. So I think comparing it with UK and the US might not be appropriate because again, we're looking at Africa. Nigeria is Africa's giant as people look at it.
Can I say something?
All right.
Yes, the Kenyans do as well as they were doing before. No. The Kenyans were winning about 6 gold medals, but this year I think they won only 2 gold medals. Am I right?
They had, yes.
Yes, they didn't do, and I heard that when they went back, the sports minister has set up a panel to investigate why they didn't do as well. So Africa in general has not done so well. As I was saying to you, we used to come with 1 or 2 medals, and I said that we didn't have a template. We didn't have any blueprint on how we achieved this. We didn't say because we did A, we got B. There was no relationship between the process and the outcome. In Nigeria, we would say that is wuru to the answer. It's like a voodoo technique. There was no proper planning and projection between planning processes and the target. That's what we have to do. That's why we win 2 gold medals. The next year we will not win any. The subsequent year we'll win a bronze. There was no process. But if you see the Chinese, you could almost bet that they will come, they win certain, you could almost project that win certain number of medals. We want to leave that state. We want to leave that situation where we'll win a couple of medals and that will be good enough for us. We want to have a blueprint for the development of our sports. And we could, because of that blueprint, because of the processes, we could project that we'll win 10 medals. I will win or even exceed that. So that's what we are going to.
Okay, so all right. Mr. Ogunro, I will ask you the last question as we come to a close. In the recent past, a few months ago, we have had a problem with the insecurity in Nigeria. Do you think this was a reason why also you did not perform well? Because we've seen Nigeria being referred to as the troubled giant of Africa. They've been leading in very many sectors, especially with 160 million people. A lot of competitive advantage is around, but then again, we saw that. Could this be a factor that led to the disappointing performance?
I'm sorry, I don't see a connection between security and the athletes' performance.
But we've seen Nigeria going down in terms of many things. We've seen stability, but then again, we've got...
I don't see a connection. I really don't see. How has it affected them? Most of the athletes even camped abroad, so...
Oh, so your athletes practice abroad, right? Is that what you're telling us?
No, I'm saying that for the best, so that they could make use of the best facilities in the world. We took them abroad. Even the athletes of Great Britain went to Portugal, so it's not something new. Even for the distraction of family and other issues, so we had to take them. So I don't see any connection.
So that means Nigeria cannot be able to. It is not good enough to train your athletes, right?
No, that's not the issue, my sister. I didn't say that. We have facilities, we have infrastructure, we can host our athletes. Nigeria is safe. Just a few states that we have issues with security. They could have hosted them in Lagos, they could have hosted them in Abuja, anywhere they could have hosted them. But what facility would they have used? It is because we want them to have to make use of best and global, the best world-class facility. That's why we took them abroad. Okay. It is not Our footballers camp abroad, sometimes our athletes, even the athletes of Britain, they took them to Portugal. It is so that they could make use of the best facilities in their particular sport. It has no relationship.
All right, but again, we have African athletes trying to work what they have in their countries to make it. But thank you so much, Mr. Ogunro, for coming on the show. And we are hoping that we can see a better performance from Nigeria in 2016. And you guys can continue being the giant of Africa.
Can I have the last word, please?
Yes, please.
Yes, I want to say that, like I said, we've not had a template or a blueprint for our sports development. But this time around is different. We are trying to build enduring systems that will ensure we produce world-class athletes. And I'm sure we'll do that. In time, it will not be that we'll just go to competition and hope to win or be praying to God to win. We will be sure because of our own work. And we are currently working. The minister just last week announced a panel to evaluate the National Institute of Sports. He wants to ensure that that institute is not just a place where people sit and collect salary, but they do the work which it was founded for, so that it will be able to produce world-class athletes. Create a system. We're going to create a system that will lead to the production of world-class athletes. So we started with the reforms in the NIS. We want to ensure that we have world-class coaches coming from the NIS. So we will need time to build this enduring system, so that by Rio 2016, we will not be just go there and be hope. We will be sure we can beat our chest and said, because of the work we have done, we can win. Not just hope then we win one or a couple medals.
All right,
I'm sure it's different.
Thank you very much. And I know we will, Nigerians will hold you accountable for your words. So we hope to see visible results in 2016. All right, viewers, you've heard it from Mr. Julius Ogunro, giving us a basic insight into really what happened in the 2012 London Olympics and why Nigeria flopped. And he gave us also very much information that we are hoping to see better results. They have templates. They have a lot of things that they're planning to do to ensure that in 2016 we do not see the same. And 2016 is not far. It's 4 years from now. We really hope we can see these results as he told us.